secondary science educators. This is your brief, hopefully, curriculum update portion from me about the resources that we have available as a district and where to find them. So right away, you will want to be in Schoology, which you may already be, and you want to go to groups. And you want to go to the CISD Curriculum and Instruction group. It should be there on your main page. If it's not, it'll be over under My Groups. You can find it. It's an important place to be. And once you click that, it will take you to this boring page with nothing on it. You want to click Resources. Yes, there are a lot of clicks here. And you will want to click Curriculum Documents. You are Secondary, and you are Science. So that'll take you to this very long list of different folders and other resources. So I want to kind of walk through that with you. This does not look as fancy as the elementary landing pages. I just want to give you a sneak preview of what that may look like for you someday. So let me just show you that. This is an example in second grade. It'll all be much more visual and a little bit more user-friendly to find things and exactly what you're looking for. But for now, we are looking at a major curriculum document and curriculum in general update coming for the 2024 school year. So for now, we're not going to tackle that just yet. We will wait till those new TEKS come out and really do some earnest curriculum writing. So anyway, we are in secondary. Yours is just a list, and there are a lot of folders because you have a lot of different grade levels and also different courses in the high schools. So what I wanted to first bring your attention to is that your scopes and sequences are up here on top. I've broken it down from 6 to 8 and then 9 through 12 because clearly those documents get very, very long when you start putting all the different courses together in one place. So it's very hard to find your course. So hopefully that'll make it load a little faster and for you to get there a little easier. That being said, I've got one open here for 9 through 12 just to show you kind of what they look like when you open them and hopefully refresh your memory if you've been with us before. If you haven't been with us, this is your week-by-week pacing guide essentially to kind of get you through the school year in timely fashion and get everything covered that you want to get covered. So first thing you're going to want to do is zoom right on in there because it's too small. Basically, if you've seen this before, you definitely know what this is all about. We list all the statements, the ICANN statements, basically the learning objectives for each of your weeks throughout the year. There are TEKS listed as well, and there are high priority learning standards, or TEKS, in bold. So you will see those here and there as we go. For example, right there, HPLS in bold. So that being said, we've kind of cleaned these up a little bit. There's a consistency with bullets and things like that to make them look a little bit more visually pleasing, because otherwise they're not. We've updated any kind of, things needed to be shifted ahead or back a little depending on the way the calendar year worked out. We've got that. All the holidays and flex professional learning days and early release days should be listed in there somewhere, so that can help you kind of plan and know ahead. One other thing that you'll notice in these documents in different forms and fashions is the ELPs are integrated. So those are English language proficiency standards. For our on-level and honors courses, we want to be very mindful of the fact that we often have learners with those kinds of needs, and we want to be responsive to those. So you'll see different ELPs referred to, and how to integrate those even in certain cases is actually written in here. If you need any help with that or want to brainstorm about ways to reach, especially if you have a lot of English language learners, easy for me to say, in your classes, you can certainly reach out to me. So this just kind of breaks it down, and hopefully it is helpful with the new dates and everything for this current calendar year. Other than that, where you really want to be focused on is the rest of everything that's specific to your course. Now, there will be, by the way, for grades 9 through 12, certain courses that don't actually have an updated scope and sequence in there, because curriculum writing over the past summer, post-pandemic, was pretty limited, and educators, I think, needed a well-deserved break. So we only have a handful of those courses. When you actually, let's just pick on, say, 8th grade, when you open up a folder, you're going to see a bunch of resources, year at a glance documents, the overarching K-12 scope and sequence, basically, so you can see all the vertical and horizontal alignments. And you'll see the different units down below. So let's just pretend we're, and this may have changed depending on interpretations and changes in the scopes and sequence. Again, we're not really going to be drilling down into Schoology all that much. I'm going to just randomly pick Earth Science for now. So that'll take you, it's a lot of clicking and a lot of folders, but eventually you want to get to your Understanding by Design unit plan. So I want to talk a little about what they are. Even if you have been in this district for a while, or if you're brand new, it's a good thing to review the history of where these came from and why they are here and how they can be very, very useful for you. They're Understanding by Design plans, and they are written in a certain template. There are 3 stages in our UBD, or Understanding by Design process, that you use to design your unit plans. And the first one is stage 1, because when you try to write these unit plans, you have to begin with the end in mind. So you want to kind of ask yourself, all right, what do I want my kids to be able to do at the end of this unit, or at the end of this school year, or when even they graduate? So you'll see that we have long-term transfer goals right there at the beginning of every single one of these unit plans, and those are our big kind of key ideas that a panel of very important and wonderful science educators got together and came up with a couple years back. So that's the big deal, or big picture about stage 1, and then you'll also see all the main content understandings, knowledge and skills, essential questions, things like that. And of course, obviously, your standards, your actual TEKS, your learning standards, and the high priority learning standards are very clearly denoted in the left column here. So you just want to kind of make sure you read through all this stuff ahead of teaching the unit, because once you go through stage 1 and identify all the learning outcomes and the goals of what you want your kids to be able to do, you can drill down into other key areas like vocabulary that you're going to be using throughout the unit, prerequisite knowledge and skills, and some misconceptions. I might have just said that. Misconceptions are huge, because you want to know historically what misconceptions kids might have coming into your unit before you go and throw new content at them. And here again, within some of these documents, you're going to see those ELPs once more. A little bit more clarity is given in that case if it's listed in here, so that's great. Once you get through kind of your end goals, you start to design your evidence, which means how do you know the kids are getting it? And that obviously boils down to different types of assessments. They can be performance, pre-assessments, summatives, informatives. Did I say all that? I think I got them all. So definitely take a look through some of these. The specific hyperlinks will take you right to specific examples of what's typically used by teams. Now, again, a lot of this may have been changed or abandoned depending on new resources, new ideas, new staff, things like that. But this is a great place to start. Stage 3 is your learning plan. So this is the actual learning experiences that you would want to use some of, not all of, because it's impossible, but some of during your actual instructional days and class periods. So it's a lot. There's a lot of information in here, and it all wraps up with responsive teaching. So, what do you do if they don't understand, or what if they need some intervention or support, or maybe even some extension ideas? There's a lot of strategies here. Also, more support for your English language learners as well. So that's the unit plan in a nutshell. I hope that you've seen these before. If you haven't, definitely you now know where to find them. That's a huge part of what we do here in this district, is try to plan your lesson design with the end in mind. So that's the whole process of Understanding by Design. And so I just wanted to review that so that we're all on the same page as to where all this came from and why we teach the way we teach. So I appreciate your patience on that. Let me go back to our main science secondary folder here. And what you're going to notice, actually, it's at the bottom right now, but I have a feeling I might move this up to the top. But you're going to see this little cute picture diagram looking thing, and it says digital resources. This was created, this landing page at least, was created by our wonderful digital learning coach staff to kind of give you a one-stop shop for some of the newer, especially the newer things that we have available to us that are digital. You'll see that there are grade levels listed there. So if you're 6, 7, 8, or any of the high school course subjects, if it says something through 12th grade, or 6th through 12th grade, that's for you, and you can access that. What you'll notice is that this is not just a picture, it is actually a live link that you can click typically, unless it says single sign-on. So if it says single sign-on, that's going to be a resource that you can go to our CISD staff page. This is a major change going into this year. This was done through our tech folks and our web page designer. So when you go to the CISD staff page, it's going to cue you to log in with your single sign-on or your district credentials. And once you're in there, you're going to see everything you have available to you. There's a lot of all the apps that and it's different for every teacher depending on your grade level, but all the things that you're going to want to be using throughout the school year are in here. So just go in there and explore what you have. You're going to see the Gizmos link is in here somewhere. I can't see it at the moment, but it's in here. I know it somewhere. Flocabulary, there it is. Flocabulary is going to be in there for you. Even if you want to have a one-stop shop, this is a great place. You can get into eSchool, gradebook things, Schoology, if you're not already in it, and some other stuff. So check this out. It's got all the old stuff that we used to have, like links for seeing your paychecks and all that, but our curriculum resources are in here as well. So that's what it means when it says single sign-on in Schoology here when you're looking at your landing page. So Gizmos and Flocabulary, what else? Even some of the other ones. Discovery Ed, if you're still accessing that. Those are all single sign-on resources. Now, the one I wanted to draw some attention to is something that's critical, which we already talked about in my pre-assessment spiel earlier in this curriculum update, and that's the Paige Keeley probes. These are tools that you have access to, and it's an electronic book series that is put out, and we kind of purchased it through NSTA. So when you click that link, that box, the orange button, you can see it'll open something for you. So again, it's live. That'll take you to this huge spreadsheet. The reason right now that I want to direct you this way is because some of the links over the years in the curriculum documents, if there are any, have gone dead. These are amazing tools if you want to pre-assess or formatively assess your kids throughout the unit or course of the school year. For you guys in secondary, you're going to want to look maybe at the volumes 1, 2, 3, 4. These typically go to about, I think they're 3rd through 6th grade. So you can kind of, if there's something that's relevant to what you're teaching, that's organized by strands. If there's something relevant to what you're teaching, go ahead and check it out. And what you'll notice when you open one of these, and it's going to take a minute, I'm going to actually go over to, say, Physical Science Volume 1, because let's say you're a physics teacher and you want to pre-assess or see if your kids understand the concept of what a speedometer does or speed in general. You can grab, and by the way, this has been cleaned up. If you've ever seen this before, it used to be a nightmare with huge links all over the place. We've corrected it and made sure these links actually work, and you don't need to sign in. So I'm going to let this load and just talk a little more about what they're used for. So again, pre-assessment and formative assessment, if you want to get at what your kids really understand. Okay, this one's about speed units. Not a bad thing I would say this is a great pre-assessment as you head into one-dimensional motion and you start to get to things like speed and velocity. So if you're looking at this, it's just basically, here's your student handout, and this is the kind of the prompt that you would either give them in Schoology or put up on the screen or however you want to do it. I'd prefer to even maybe digitize this in some way. You could use Pear Deck or some other digital resource that we already have. Then it takes you to all the notes about how to roll this out, how to use it with your kids, how to use it multiple times in certain examples where you want, or cases where you want to assess and reassess, just to make sure your kids have really truly mastered it. So, and it gives you some other additional information and resources. So basically it takes you to a single, I'd almost call it a chapter or a short unit in each of these electronic books. And these are amazingly written. They're written by science educators and scientists that got together, and they have been a big part of the research in modern science education. So it's proven that these work really well, and in most cases they're actually really, really interesting and thought-provoking. Gets kids to think, talk to each other, ask questions to you and to each other. So this is a big one that I really encourage you to explore as you look at pre-assessing and formatively assessing your kids throughout the year. So again, those are Paige Keeley probes. You'll find them linked in your curriculum documents on occasion, but especially in some of the APIB courses, you may not have ever had the chance to go through these. I recommend trying it out, because that's going to be a big help and a time saver, because they're already written and it already tells you how to roll it out and how to use it. So definitely check those out. All right, I think I've covered everything I can. I am sorry that your secondary science resources don't look more pretty like the elementary, but again, we will get there. It's on my long-term plan here as we look at the next few years, but I hope that helps you kind of steer your way towards curriculum documents. Next up will be any particular course curriculum updates that if you had curriculum writers this summer, you'll hear from them, just so you're all on the same page. So thanks for listening.
Hello, I'm going to go over our updated scope and sequence for 8th grade science, as well as any other updates, changes, and materials we've added or updated, and where you can find them. First thing, let's talk about our scope and sequence. Really, it's remained unchanged. It's still assuming that the STAR is going to be on the week of May 2nd. I believe that could be subject to change if all schools are going online this year. That'll give kind of a larger window for when the STAR can be taken, so that the date may change, but the earliest it'll be is on the week of the May 2nd. So that's what we plan for. Really, not a lot of changes to the scope and sequence. The biggest change is we added back another week to work on scientific inquiry and processes. This seemed like an important goal for Evan. Just to get kids back doing science, get them familiar with our processes, and get them excited. So we have a lot of good activities in 8th grade, that really accomplish that for scientific inquiry in the first 2 weeks. So we thought we'd add that week back after we lost it last year. In our scope and sequence, we added English language proficiency standards to each of our priority standards. So as you go through this, you can kind of see the priority standards that are bolded, and then right below it, those bolded ICANN statements, we added English language proficiency standards to each one of those. All right, for the UBD, if you're unsure where to find the UBD, where you would find that is in the CISD curriculum and instruction group. All right, it's kind of a chain here, but go to resources and then curriculum documents, secondary to science to 8th grade. And then I'm going to use Unit 2 Earth Science as an example. So just looking at the unit plan, the main work that we did in curriculum writing was to update the content and material that's within this. The TEKS haven't changed, the priority TEKS haven't changed, but as we've gone through and developed our understanding and developed what works and not, we took out some of the old stuff, checked for some bad links or something that might be infringing on copyright, and added in some of our highly successful kind of new content. including, argument-driven inquiry experiences and other inquiry labs. So check this out. There's a lot of great resources. Where these resources are held, there's going to be a link on each document, but where you can find all the resources together is we're all members in a shared drive called Science Curriculum. So if you go through middle school science, grade 8, use Earth Science again as an example, into learning teacher resources and learning experiences. This is where we'll have the bulk of our resources. But even back there, it's fully loaded up with assessments and other great things that you can use for each of our units. That's in line with our priority standards. That is it. Thank you.
All right, for the last segment, I am going to propose a couple of ideas that I hope you find useful for your first few weeks of school. And I'm starting out here in the curriculum documents secondary science folder within the CISD curriculum and instruction group. And the first thing, obviously, to look at is the scope and sequence. And you are all in 8th grade getting started out right away, getting to know your kids and establishing those relationships, which is awesome. But you also have some science built in there so that they can actually learn by doing and become comfortable with the routines and the processes that we typically go through all year long. So that's a great way to start. And to help with that and help generate some conversations, I have a couple ideas here. Starting with our digital resources landing page, there's a button for page Keeley probes. I found a couple that might work for you. And when you open that or click that button, it'll open this spreadsheet. And there are a few in the volume 3 tab in particular that I thought were nice. So the first one is called Doing Science. And again, this is nothing too high level, but it's certainly something kids can begin discussing, and it's basically just several statements that are made, and the kids have to discuss whether that's what scientists do or not and explain their thinking, which is great. So this can happen in whole group or in small groups or thought partners, however you want to do that, but it's a nice way to just get to kids talking about science and what scientists do. The other one was, is it a theory? And I like this one a lot more because you're getting refined at this point. They should be well versed in the scientific method, but I like just generating some discussion over the ideas about theories here. So a theory never changes, for example. Kids can have good discussion on that and then share back out to whoever. So it's just another quick way to assess whether kids are ready for the next big thing in your class. So one other thing that I will suggest, as you look at your curriculum document, your main 8th grade UBD plan, along with all the TEKS and essential questions and so on and so forth, down below you have your academic vocabulary and just some ideas for you, to kind of look over, looking at prerequisite skills and knowledge and misconceptions, along with some of that 7th grade vocabulary. You may wish to kind of hone in on some of that, and there are page Keeley probes for that as well. But the other thing, as you look at doing science according to your scope and sequence and what you want to accomplish in your first unit, making measurements and collecting data. So I just had a quick idea of how to maybe go about that. So I will switch over to that little demonstration right now. What we're looking at here are cubes made of uniform substances, all having their own unique densities. And as you consider what you want your kids to collect data about, what experimental design you want them to incorporate, conclusions based on evidence you want them to draw, this is a very easy, approachable way to get at all of that and allow them to show you that they know it. What I would do here is just throw these on the table in front of a group and say, hey, go tell me what these are made of. And boy, would that generate some discussions. They'd be saying to themselves, what do we do first? what do we do next? What measurements do we make? What tools do we need? Things like that. And that would be amazing discussion to actually inspire in the kids. And then from there, they would be able to eventually, hopefully, at the end say, I believe this is made of copper, and here's why. And you can see their thinking very clearly. So that could incorporate as much as or as little as you want. You could bring in triple beam balances and metric rulers, of course. I think you would probably want to do that. You could provide a list of densities of known substances to kind of guide them in the right direction. That's fine. But beyond that, I really wouldn't give much more structure to that. Just kind of let them think and design their own experiments. So you also will be drawing on prerequisite knowledge. So these kids who are coming out of 7th grade by now should have real firm handles on density, mass, volume, things like that. But it's not guaranteed. So this is a great way to learn things like that. So what better way to learn about mass than to actually be able to feel and compare masses and then go and physically measure it? It's tangible, it's hands-on, it's a way to learn by doing. And the same for volume. Also, kind of scaffolding if they need it to show them, what is the density formula and kind of have them take it from there. That's a great way to kind of get everybody back to the same level playing field. Now, if you really want to challenge some kids and they are a little bit more advanced and you want to keep them busy and thinking, we can vary the shapes and make them really get into the nitty-gritty of volume. So I hope that's helpful and that it really gets the kids excited about learning by doing science.